I am Nahid Kabbani, and this is the Lighthouse for today's viewers. Welcome to our show. The spirit of holidays and the spirit of holy events for all over the world and for all kind of religions and background around us everywhere. And actually, this year specifically, all religion events, the big events, comes together within 1 month, which is December, and our sisters and brothers celebrate Hanukkah last week, and we will celebrate Christmas this week, and our Muslim brothers and sisters will celebrate the Holy Eid after Al-Hajj on 30th, on December also. We will have a New Year as Roman New Year Eve coming soon. And we will have a new topic today about New Year in China, Chinese New Year. It is a unique topic with unique guest today, something different. So let's introduce our guest to you. First.
My name is Ira Thompson. I was born in Israel and I come from a Jewish background, but now I'm part of the Women Federation for World Peace, which include women from all over the world, different culture and religions and faith, and have a great interest to encourage dialogue and interaction among women from different backgrounds. So I'm really happy and feel fortunate to be here today and really learn something new about the Chinese New Year and the Chinese culture.
You're welcome. Also, let's introduce our guests.
Yes, hello. My name is Sharon Swain. I'm very happy that you've invited me on this show. And my background is I'm American Indian, German, and Mexican American. I have a vast background as far as religion, born a Catholic. I have a keen interest in Middle Eastern philosophies and their social customs. And I'm involved as a volunteer to promote and tell people about a wonderful event that's coming up in commemoration of Chinese New Year. This event is going to be taking place at the Kodak Theater January 9th and 10th of 2007. The corporation or nonprofit organization which is sponsoring this is the New Tang Dynasty TV. This is a nonprofit organization which will be sponsoring this spectacular showcase. And I'm here to talk about this wonderful culture, the Chinese culture, and specifically regarding the Tang Dynasty.
So, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
I'm sure our viewers are interested to know more about it. And it's a surprise for them that we have new things today to know about it. So our history and our life is full of new things to know as one word, to be close to each other. So what do you wear? You surprised us today.
Oh, yes.
I wonder, like
So-
listening to you, you emphasize the Tang dynasty as the major, huh?
Higher, you're mostly.
Okay, the Tang dynasty is something that is a major of your interest, and can you share with us a little bit why the Tang, is it Tang?
Yes, Tang,
The
T-A-N-G.
Tang dynasty.
Uh-huh.
What is so special about the Tang dynasty that really moved you to be part of the cultural sphere that is being nourished by that dynasty?
Well, I have always had a keen interest in the Eastern culture. As a child, I collected various vases, little dolls, figurines, cups, saucers, various items, Japanese, Korean, Chinese. And I was especially fascinated by Chinese dragons. The various beautiful colors are displayed in their handiwork, but the Tang dynasty is very unique because that was the golden age of China. In fact, that spanned from the year 617 to approximately 910 AD, almost 300 years. What made this dynasty unique is that it had an impact on all Chinese culture. It laid the foundation of a more higher, elevated culture, emphasizing goodness and kindness and harmony. So in fact, that particular dynasty has had an impact on future generations down the line, and impacted the world. As a matter of fact, the whole world was intrigued with the dynasty. Even the Europeans were very intrigued with their culture.
So that culture is based on what philosophy? Is it the Confucianism or Buddhism, or what kind of resources, spiritual resources, were they tapped into?
That's a very good question. Well, as you know, 500 years earlier was Lao Zhen, who was the founder of Taoism. And of course, there was Confucius, who was even earlier than that, who brought in the principles of Confucianism. And of course, Sakyamuni, who was earlier than that, who brought in Buddhism. So these three pillars, this dynasty emphasized in their principles. These were the three teachings, or the three pillars: the Tao, Buddhism, and Confucianism. These these were their solid pillars, which influenced their spiritual outlook on life.
So what were the basic principles?
The basic principles were to live in harmony with each other, to live in harmony with nature, and to live in harmony with heaven. This was very important. They took it very serious, their everyday living, their thoughts, what they were thinking was very important. They realized that it had an impact on their consciousness and impacted the whole country, as a matter of fact. So they strived to watch their behavior, their conduct. They emphasized respect for women, respect for children, and there was a keen interest in music, advocating a higher level of music, which touched the person's essence to be a good person. So these are things that would help make any government or empire or dynasty very great, and that's what was so significant about them, that the whole world looked at them and wondered, wow, these people are so great. What makes them so grand? Well, it was these high principles that they lived by, these high principles of respecting each other and respecting heaven, those that dwelt in heaven, God. That was very important to them.
So they actually believed in God, because Buddhism or Confucianism is not based on the belief in God necessarily, but more on ethical, real practical structure of behavior.
Yes, during the Tang Dynasty, they certainly did. In fact, but you see, these principles are emulated through gods, or a god or higher being, and this is what Buddhism believes in. They do believe in higher beings. They believe in themselves emulating to these high levels. So it really does tie in.
How this culture actually were carried till today, or he just vanished?
Oh, well, you know that these paintings of this type of culture, in fact, this costume that I'm wearing was found in the mountainous regions of Donghua. So they were found several generations after they were painted on these cliff walls in this province. These have been preserved, and those paintings impacted generations later on. These generations were so awed by these magnificent beings that they saw on these cliff walls and the magnificence of them, and realizing the principles that they emanated, that yes, it had an impact in further generations. Unfortunately, the regime that's in China right now has done a pretty good job in rooting out the basic Chinese traditions and taking away from them these values. That's why it's so important that this discussion is going on today, and this show that I'm promoting is being shown around the world, because it's such a rich culture, it has such an impact on the world at that time, and it has slowly been forgotten. And so it's being revitalized or brought to people's attention. It's still there. It's still there.
How do you feel that that culture can contribute to our situation today?
Well, the music, for instance, that's depicted in this extravaganza that I'm promoting has original dancing and original music. And the music is taken on the principles of the Tang Dynasty, which promotes stories and legends, or utilizes stories and legends to promote and advocate morals and the goodness of dealing with other people. In other words, they show it in high esteem, whereas nowadays it's kind of poked fun of to try to be a nice person. Whereas these performances actually are uplifting. The music's very beautiful. The music brings a person in harmony with their inner self. It has a lot of impact. There's over 200 performers, and these performers have been practicing for over a year. And these performers aren't just ordinary performers. These performers are actually cultivators. They're cultivating their minds and their selves. They purify themselves, and they're cultivating their minds and their selves to a much higher level. So they're going to exude that energy when they dance. That's what's so interesting and profound about these performances.
So they represent different aspects of China, not just the Tang Dynasty, or how?
Well,
or that's the emphasis.
Most of the people in it are Chinese, and they are from different areas of China. That's for sure. But the emphasis of the performances is on the Tang Dynasty.
Why?
Well, because they want to show the beauty of that dynasty, how it impacted their culture, and how it did have an impact on the people back at that time. Do you know?
The roots.
Or excuse me, that's right, the roots. Actually, Donghua province, where these drawings are at to this very day, you can go there and actually see them, happened to be on the Silk Road. Well, the Silk Road connected the East and the West. It spanned from southern China to Greece. Many cultures travel this road daily. Merchants, artists, and cultivators. There was professional cultivators at that time, monks in temples, people that were cultivating themselves from various groups, from the Taoism, Buddhism, all these different people. And Westerners traveled and were keenly interested in these enlightenments that these people were having. And they would stop along the way, and they basically gathered in a midpoint intersection, because you see there was two roads. There was a southern road and there was a northern road that connected the Silk Road together. And in the middle of this intersection is this province called Donghua. Well, this province was considered to be a very enlightened area, a very cultured center for the arts and philosophy and knowledge and enlightenment. So people traveled and stopped along there. So it just so happens
Historical.
that very historical. But what's interesting is that the preservation of these beautiful block paintings, the art of block ink work on these cave walls is still there to this day. And they're just beautiful. And the costumes that are there, such as the one I'm wearing, are magnificently preserved on these cliffs, along with a huge
Can
Buddha.
we see what you're wearing?
Well, you certainly can.
One World Oregon, promoting cultural understanding through the media.
So this is a more like a nobility dress, or is the regular people, or what is it?
Actually, you kind of hit it on the head. The different colors that the clothes were worn represented a level
Status?
in society, a status. That's right. But these particular costumes, they were given, this is what they felt. There was a revelation, and God gave them these beautiful costumes. And these costumes represented to the human what a god looked like. And this was a female. This happens to be one of many of the various female costumes in silk. Chinese silk, and the scarf or the shawl represented the upward motion in the heavens. You see, in flight, very, very gracious. And well, you probably think it's a headdress. Actually, this is how they wove their hair. Yeah, this is hair actually. And they would wrap the hair in whatever material they had, whether it be leather or silk. See, so this, you're right, it did depict a level, and the colors were representative. Like, for instance, red represented the 8th dimension, or the 8th heavenly level.
So they had a spiritual.
It looked like a pharaoh time, or Egyptian women dress up at that time, or belly dancer in the Middle East.
That's what I thought, because you know I have a background of very much involved interest with the Egyptian and Persian culture, belly dance, and that's exactly what I thought. So certainly these were very high level, knowledgeable kingdoms also in Egypt. I certainly believe that, and in Persia, and that's certainly these knowledgeable people
Connected.
travel
Yes.
and connected on the Silk Road.
Yes.
So it would make sense if a lot of these countries that were close by might have similar or adaptations of these various costumes. That's a very good observation. Yes, I certainly think so. That was probably the case. But these costumes were given, these eloquent costumes were given as a revelation to man as a magnificent moment in time, and also as a splendid future experience for humans. That was the impact that these costumes had. So they're very, very profound.
So with action, with kind of movement, special or what?
Well, yes. There's a lot of just as in the Persian culture with the mudras. There's also the hand movements with the fingers up, which represent the Buddha's hand movement. This is very profound in China, Hosei, right near the heart. And of course, the feet would be are found in the pictures as going outwards, showing a flow of movement in the heavens. Yeah, showing actually elevating the human element, the human psyche. You see, you could see how this would have such an impact on culture at that time, where they would have this graciousness It affected them in their dress also.
When you believe in something,
Yes.
or you're feeling with that
That's
belief,
right,
yes.
that's right. And you would want to emulate this beauty and this kindness and this graciousness. So you could see how at that time the world took note of this dynasty. It was truly a golden age, truly a time of great discovery among themselves. Yeah.
How old that going back, how many years?
Wow, that's over 2,500 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, what happened? What happened to? Did the dynasty continue? I mean,
It almost lasted 300 years, and then there followed through other dynasties.
so what happened to the culture? I mean, is it? I mean, it sounds very beautiful culture, and hopefully it was meant to endure forever.
Yes, its
but-
principles have endured.
Yeah.
They have endured. It was a time of, they were also influenced by Confucianism, which taught to restrain one's desires. In other words, you could see how you would have less problems of jealousy, less problems of boastfulness. They didn't boast. So therefore, if you don't boast and brag, you're not going to be churning up jealousy among people. You could see how that would work. So that was a time when people were more conscious of each other's feelings and what they said, how it would impact that other person. It was truly a time of emulating, you know, as Jesus did, the golden rule. Absolutely.
So nothing will die totally.
No,
the history and the
absolutely
stories
not.
to tell, I guess they will carry
That's
part
right.
of that.
That's right. And many cultures, I'm sure, could identify with this, because I'm sure many cultures, like we said, were affected. These people brought things back as their travels on the Silk Road, and they were affected. I'm sure, just like we mentioned about, we see some similarities in the Persian.
Even Indian with
Yes,
sari and
that's
that
right.
two pieces.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's absolutely right. So you could see
The
how.
world is connected to
That's right. You
somehow.
can see how these intelligent humans saw that and wanted to emulate the gods. Yeah, it was actually given to them directly by God.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. Actually, new information.
The main source is that picture or painting, or there's also written resources.
Is there any
Manuscript
articles or
or-
things they found
I mean,
ground on?
How do we know today what they believe? Is it? I mean, you
well-
mentioned only the painting, but what you're saying sounds more than just a
Right,
painting.
I understand. You know, there are writings. There's absolutely writings that's been handed down that were sacred writings that speak of these things. And of course, oral history. Oral history is enduring. Many cultures have oral history. Native Americans have oral history. Many indigenous people have oral history. Many cultures have not felt that they're valid, such as a lot of times the Western culture has not felt that the indigenous people's cultures were important, such as in Mexico and in North America. But they are, because just like they had scribes back in Jerusalem, you can relate to that, right? The scribes. You know, the scribes' jobs were to write and translate sacred writings and history, and they had to be very accurate, and not just anybody could be a scribe. You know,
Yeah, geologists.
you know that.
and
Yeah, that's
geographic
right.
people
That's
and-
right.
yeah.
They were usually groomed as a child to be a scribe. They had to be somebody of good moral character.
Yes,
Am I correct? Yeah, good moral character. They had to emulate good qualities. They had to be trustworthy and honest. All right, and these scribes would write down the scriptures. Yeah, they wrote them down. It was very important that they weren't polluted in any way. All right. If we look at the Sufi writings were preserved by people that took it, that was given this work to preserve it. Now we can take this a step further. And oral tradition, same with the Northwest Indians. I have a degree in American Indian Studies, so I'm a little more familiar with this. Northwestern Indians, they had storytellers that came through the Inuit Indians.
Yeah.
These storytellers there was like a gift.
Kept
They were
the
considered to
history,
be a prophet,
yeah.
and they were groomed from childhood up, and they were considered to be very special. And these children usually emulated good inborn qualities. So they were watched, they were given this gift of preserving oral tradition. And these stories, it was very important that they not add a word or take away a word. So even back then, this was very important. So we don't want to underestimate some cultures just because they, to us, didn't have what we think, a library, so to speak, a library. They did have their oral traditions, and they're very important. And same with the Tang Dynasty. The dynasty recordings were written and orally. In fact, the various Chinese dynasties, did you know that they had secretaries that followed them and listened and watched everything they did and wrote it down, so there could be no contradiction in history. But there was one emperor, and I forgot who it was, and he wasn't very nice, and he would kill the secretaries. He killed about 3 of them. He killed them because he didn't like them writing the truth. He wanted to make sure he left a pure and very good legacy. Well, he didn't do everything so nice. He was kind of a meanie, and so the scribes would follow him, or the secretaries, excuse me. And do you know they couldn't talk? The secretaries had to be silent. They could not talk, because speaking, it might interrupt their concentration. It might also cause them to make a mistake. They could miss something, and they might also be influenced. So think about that. Think about that responsibility, being a secretary back in the various dynasties, and the Tang Dynasty. You wanted to be very accurate in what you wrote. Same with the storytellers in Native American cultures.
Documentary.
Same in Jerusalem and in India. These scribes had to be very accurate. So yes, indeed, there is preservation of this wonderful history.
I feel you are so serious about the topic. Even you are originally Native American.
Yes, I am.
That's why maybe there is some similarity with your
there's
roots.
a connection.
Try to find your identity or something like this.
Yes.
That's why you go in deep with the other culture.
You know what? You're absolutely right. And I feel like that paved the way for where I'm at today, because I remember one of our professors, Little Crow, he taught American Indian philosophy at Long Beach State. That's my alma mater. And he taught us the general philosophies and feelings and understanding of the indigenous people of this North America, actually, and how everything's connected. It's circular. Everything's woven and connected together. You can't take anything away, because if you do, then you're disrupting the harmony. And the ancient people, indigenous people, were very concerned about being in harmony with nature. If they took something, they gave it back. In other words, if they picked something off a tree to feed themselves, they made sure they didn't deplete it, that there was something left for the next band or group coming through, and that they would have enough. And they actually cleaned the area where they would be sitting at. In other words, they didn't litter. They weren't litter bugs. They would actually get branches and clean it, because the next group would be coming through, and they wanted to be just as nice, just as well preserved. So they believed in what we call reciprocity. In other words, give and take.
You still see it in Egypt. They still find from Pharaoh time, they still find until now, and they are careful to carry it out of the earth just to not break it or not to change anything.
Showing respect. Showing respect for the ancestors. That's right.
So the world is very small.
It is, isn't it?
Well, but the Native American actually came from Asia, no? I mean,
there's a thought that they did. They are definitely connected.
For the Bering Straits.
They're considered Mongolian race. Yeah.
And they came through the Bering Straits, and over the years they went down, isn't it? I think that's the...
Well, that's the general consensus, although many nations have their own stories and they have their own creators, which is I feel it's very valid. I have respect for that.
I believe the world is, as Freeman said, the world is flat, It is flat, and old age, old time, you never know how they travel,
Yeah, that's
how far they go.
You know what? You're
And
right.
they don't know where they are now, where they will be next step. So they were living easy life with no borders, with no
Well, you're right.
walls,
You're
high
right
walls.
as far as borders, because the Mesoamericans, you know, down in Mexico and South America, they traveled freely
Yeah.
up here.
Yeah.
There
The whole
were
world,
there
no
were no
borders.
borders
Yeah.
at that time. Excuse me. They did travel freely. In fact, many of their stones and jewelry and pottery work, pottery work is found in through Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and they wonder, well, how did they get there? It's because there was trade going on.
Yes.
These people went back and forth.
Yeah.
And so there was an interexchange of culture, once again.
And the same kind of life,
That's
simple
right.
life.
That's right, an interexchange of culture. And that's what we're here today talking about, the interexchange of culture. This is what took place on the Silk Road.
In Hawaii, I find a lot of things belong to the same stories or pictures or ideas from Palestine and Jerusalem. And
Amazing.
the same, the same things they use, the same way they maybe cook or something. The old time is the same. Until after World War II, the whole world was similar. After the light and new things and technology comes to the Europe, before Middle East or other areas, Europe become more faster, going to better life. But before, it's almost alike, the old time.
Yeah, for
So,
technology
yes,
development.
Yes, they live a simple life. They use whatever available from the forest or from the trees or from simple life.
And you know what? There was benefit from that. There's a benefit from being simple and being closer to the earth. There really is. What would be nice, and I think that's what we all want, is maybe a fusion of both cultures and traditions.
Yes.
And in order to do that, there would have to be a groundwork of respect.
Yes,
And appreciation, because maybe a nation that has a lot of technological advances, they can change their attitude and how they look on a country that doesn't have that, and can realize the natural resources and what those people, what that country has to offer. You see,
use the great gift from God,
Yes.
the brain.
Yes.
Use your brain, your
Yes.
judgment to balance which is good, which is bad, and put things together the right way.
Right.
That's all what we need.
That's right. That's right.
wisdom.
Isn't that a wonderful goal?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And you know that you can't achieve that unless you take the time to understand your neighbor.
Yes.
You know, and understand who's across the ocean.
Yeah.
You know, these people, and see them as real people. So it's very nice when there's an opportunity to talk to them and go to their culture event, you know, and understand what they're trying to say, what their stories are. Every culture has a story.
Yes, and no stranger, because we all one family.
Yes,
Under
absolutely.
God rules.
I think for a
Absolutely.
long time, people thought when the technology and science developed that they find hope in science and technology to improve mankind's situation. But I think at that point it became,
They go beyond.
we can realize that we actually have abused
Yes.
science and technology to the point where you see that the environment and the more important fundamental
As we abuse
resources
most of the things.
that we depend on it is being depleted and ruined. So we see now the value of the spiritual elements in our life, like the values and the morals that needs to supplement and complement science. I mean, we need both, like you said, we need to fuse both the physical and the spiritual together to create what we call the kingdom of heaven, or the environment where we can really feel that our original heart and nature can feel happy and interact in harmony with each other.
Right. And you know, true science is rooted in spirituality. It is rooted in the understanding of the universe. You know, the Mayans, great civilization of the Mayans, they were very advanced and they had great understanding. And you know, what intrigued them the most and where they put the emphasis on was understanding the human body and how it correlated with the universe. They understood that there was a connection because just like things in the universe move, you know, the planets move, right, around the sun.
It's not all science.
Right.
It
Things
has
in
a
our
power.
body, things in our body move.
Circulation.
Yeah, magnetic
Things in our bodies move.
Yeah.
For instance, the cell or the atom. You know, there's an electron. The electrons are moving around the atom. They're circulating. You could almost say it's like a miniature sun and moon. And the ancients knew that. They knew how important it was to be in harmony with the heavens. That is where it ties in. What we're talking about right here, we happen to be speaking about the Tang Dynasty. They put a lot of emphasis on that. With all what they had going for them, why would they spend so much time on this? Because this made them a better people. They were healthier, they were wiser. So when one practices these principles, you are going to be happier. That's for sure. You're going to be healthier. You're going to have less stress because you're interacting in a more appropriate manner with other people, respect and appreciating women and children, older people, younger people, because they all have a contribution in our society.
I think maybe that's where the importance to revive those culture today and understand them, because we alienated ourselves from nature, we alienated ourselves from our inner self to the point where we became sick spiritually and physically. And I mean, there's a lot of dysfunction.
Slave to machines. Almost.
Yeah, I mean, people are being tormented today, emotionally, mentally, and physically. You can see the results of that alienation from nature, from the spiritual values, and you can see the results manifested today.
Right.
And I think that's maybe so many people are drawn to go back to the source of values that they feel can actually help us to restore the harmony and original nature that we believe we have.
Well, we feel that this program is so important that scholarships are being offered in New York. See, this program, this spectacular, which these posters here are talking about here, this Chinese New Year Spectacular here at the Kodak Theater, it's coming from New York. So it's playing in New York as we speak. And there's over 70,000 attendees. Now, in areas such as the Bronx in New York, a lot of these children are don't have the opportunity to see very much culture, you know, programs of different sorts. So, New Tang Dynasty TV has gone into the Bronx and offered scholarships to these children. So these children are being given the opportunity to see this show, this spectacular show, Chinese New Year, in New York, Manhattan. They're able to go to the beautiful showcase that they're showing it there. And also New Tang Dynasty has offered the teachers at these various schools in the Bronx curriculums to teach the children about the culture and along with the principal implications of this dynasty as a way of educating the students, because you know, New York has a very large population of Chinese. Yeah, did you know that Chinese is the third largest or most often spoken language here in the United States?
Wow.
Yeah, and it's growing, you know, it's may even be the second one pretty soon, but right now it ranks number 3. So it certainly behooves us to, you know, peer into this wonderful culture, what it has to offer. So that's what's taking place as far as, you know, a small part in trying to help people.
So we'll not be able to see it here?
Oh yes, yes, it's coming.
So I guess we could all go to see that.
Yes, yes, in January, January 9th and 10th, it will be showcased at the beautiful Kodak Theater on Hollywood and Vine. There's a
This
beautiful
Tuesday
mall
and
there.
Tuesday, Wednesday?
It's going to be Tuesday and Wednesday at 8 o'clock. And there's an array of different seats there, valued.
Is it evening or all day program?
It's evening. In fact, there's going to be a reception Tuesday, and I would like to invite you as my
Thank you.
guest to come to the reception and to see the show, if you'd be my guest.
That would be wonderful.
So what do you have in the newspaper here?
Well, this is a general newspaper that's distributed throughout several continents. Asia, Europe, Australia, excuse me, and North America. It's called the Epoch Times, and this is a general newspaper, and it's an international newspaper with articles from all over the world. It's very interesting. In fact, our viewers, if they have something to contribute locally or at a national level, they can feel free to write to the editors. It's published in New York, Manhattan, New York. And in this paper, there is the advertisement here speaking about this wonderful show that is uplifting, and that it's going to have this gracious dance. Over 200 performers and over 1,000 volunteers are going to be participating in this. They can see this. So this is giving a little bit of the history, the ancient history, and you could see one of the scenes how they have a giant Buddha in the background, and there's a woman singing. What's interesting is that since the Donghua province represented the intersection of the East and the West, this show is also a cross-cultural show. cross-culture in the fact that many of the instruments that are going to be used, several of them are Western instruments, such as this picture shows here. There is a pianist, concertist, who's going to be playing. So we have the piano, we have the flute, the harp, and various other Western instruments, showing the influence of, there again, the cross-culture. And of course, there'll be the traditional Chinese, ancient Chinese musical instruments, such as the arond, which means two-stringed instruments. It's a beautiful sound.
That's wonderful.
So you have a lot of interesting things to look forward in attending this event.
Everything goes to culture. And across culture will be nice to at least to know what's going on around the world, to know each other more.
And how we're all connected.
Yes, music always the word language, silent.
It is.
It's
it's a universal communication language, and dance.
Yes.
You know, we can
dance with happiness.
Oh,
bring people together also.
Yes,
that's wonderful.
Yes, it really is.
Yes, that's really something new. We would love to share those moments, and we would like to see some new ideas, because we are here to let people know about the whole world. We are as family.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
when we know more, we will be close to each other more. We care more about each other.
That's right.
And
in fact, these performances will be conducted in over 26 major cities. Yes, cities throughout the worldwide, including in this country, Chicago, Atlanta, New York, Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Berlin, Sydney, just to name a few.
Paris.
Paris, that's right, Paris.
This look like Indian more than...
Yeah, it does.
It certainly
does.
Like Indian more.
We could certainly see how other countries were influenced by this dynasty. Absolutely.
So
and you could see a lot of attention given to the hair.
Yes.
See, they would weave the hair. Of course, I don't have that much hair, so I'm wearing this headdress, which is representative of this particular style. Is called twin droop. DROOP. Twin droop, which you could see because there's two of these, and it's weaved in a like a circle in this droop fashion. So this is how the hair is depicted, and this is how they wore it, and they would wrap material around the hair. So you can imagine all the hair going up and wearing it like this, and then they would put precious jewelry and pearls and so forth in the hair.
I'm interested to know if you have the same deep study about the Native American. Do you study that?
Yes,
also?
yes.
So if
I have.
some other time we will
Yes,
ask you
I
to
would
talk
like
about the
very
Native
much.
American, because we have little knowledge about that. We would like to go deeply about our sisters and brothers.
I would like to share that because
us.
what most people probably don't realize is that California had the largest population of Native Americans.
I can
right
tell
in
from
California.
how many casinos we have around us.
Well,
The highest number, 56 almost, in just California. So that means there's a lot of tribes, which I would love to know more about the Native
yes,
American
it's such an
history.
interesting topic,
Yes.
and it's interesting
So-
how they're finally being able to self-sustain themselves, which was promised to them decades ago in treaties, and they're getting this now, and it's
Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful.
So that's really nice. We spent nice time with you, and it was
Thank
a
you
unique
so
show.
much. I
And
enjoyed
I'm
your
looking
show.
forward to have more shows like this from you
Well-
as background and historical things,
Yes,
actually.
yes.
And I'm sure my viewers would like
Oh,
to
I hope
see those
so. I
shows.
hope so.
I hope so too. So on behalf of my viewers, I would like to thank you for being with us. And
Thank you,
on behalf
Nahed.
of my guests, I would like to thank you, my viewers, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.